My background, so I started Berkeley Sourcing Group 13 years ago. We do development and manufacturing in China. I've lived there for the last 13 years, a third of the time. Been going for 15. We've worked with over 1,000 hardware startups in that time. We've manufactured just about every process you can imagine. A lot of injection molding electronics, obviously, because that dominates hardware. But basically, we act as your plug-and-play team on the ground in China to do what you need to get done. And a big part of that is understanding the things that you might not know about, the unknown unknowns. And a lot of our work is to help you prepare to get to China. And so I'll talk a lot about that today. What is your responsibility? What is your job? And if you can do your job well, actually Chinese factories are very good to work with, but if you don't give them the right information and support, then that's when you give a lot of room for a lot of the problems that I'm sure you guys have all heard about. So we have a team of about 20 in our Shenzhen office, engineers, project managers, inspectors, and management. So that's basically our resources there. I started Hardware Massive as a meetup group in Berkeley about 4.5 years ago, and never planned to be an event manager really, but there was just a big gap in the market for the education and the networking and the resources for hardware, and it kind of grew out of control. We turned that into Hardware Massive 2 years ago with 4 chapters, and now we're at 40 chapters and growing very quickly. And we're also about to launch some new resources online. So if you're looking for partners, we're going to have a matching program that has curated matching. We have, I think, about 170 videos. We're taking the video tonight, so if you want to review this, you can check it out online. It takes about 2 weeks to get that all edited and up, but there's 170 other videos about everything hardware. So if you're looking for more, you can look through that library. So straight into working with the factory. So if you're going to go direct, these are the 2 websites you need to know. So Alibaba and Global Sources. And again, we'll have this all up online, so don't worry too much about taking the notes here, but those will be available. So in Alibaba Global Sources, you just search for the kind of product or process you need, and you can find what may or may not be a factory. It might be a guy in a room presenting himself as a factory. I'd say that percentage is about 40% right now, so you have about a 60% chance of really being a factory. You won't really know until you go there. And it's gotten a little bit better, but there are, back in the day, it was really deceptive where you would go to China with the person, you'd go to the factory, the random guy that was sitting in the apartment would sit in the factory boss's desk and act like the boss, and everybody would play along, and you would just have no idea unless you spoke Chinese and could catch on. So as with any partner, you want to know what are their interests, right? And the factory's interests, number one, keep the machines running. That's how they make their money. Anytime the machines are not running, they're losing money. And the other thing is to understand is there's a huge difference in the cost of the upper management and the workers, right? The upper management, these guys are very rich, their time is very, very valuable and important. It's their time that is usually involved in the development process, so that's not something that they're really eager to get involved with. If the machines are just running and the workers are managing it, they don't touch it, they're doing great. So they're looking for large orders, and as a startup, you're not going to have that, so they're going to look for scaling businesses. So just like you would talk to an investor, you want to convince them that you're going to be a big success and something that they want to invest their time and resources in. They want low defect rates, right? That means products that are very reproducible. And they want clear communication of requirements so that they know that when they have made the product according to your requirements, there won't be any issues. And it makes their job a lot easier if they know exactly what they're supposed to make. What they are not interested in is development and prototyping, troubleshooting, a lot of extra communication, small orders, and slow growth, right? So you want to, as much as you can, try to make their lives as easy as possible. In the first order, they will lose money. And it may be kind of weird, why are they going to take your business if they're going to lose money? It's their marketing expense. They really don't usually do other marketing, so they're willing to take on some smaller orders if you're with the right factory. But you really have to respect that and appreciate all of the hard work they're putting into it at their expense. I put this up here to give you an idea of lead time. So if things go nearly perfectly, it's going to take you about 7 months, probably, from the time when your engineering is finished in your eyes. There will be some design for manufacturing after you complete your package. And then you're going to make a pre-production prototype. That'll take some time, probably a couple iterations here. It takes some time for shipping to you, for you to test it and improve it. Tooling takes about 45 days or so, and a lot of that time is just waiting in line for the machine to open. So the tooling itself for injection molding is about 25 days with mold modifications and trials, but overall you should get about 45 or so days for that process. First production run, as long as you don't have any long lead time components, which can often happen in electronics, then first production run will be about 45 days. There'll be some quality control, often some troubleshooting, some fixes in there. And then if you're doing ocean shipping to the EU or the US, it's going to be about 30 days on the water. And don't forget about the time it takes for you to receive the product into your warehouse, do your inspection, and ship it out. So very important to know when you're getting your Kickstarter campaign ready. This is why a lot of things are delayed. This is, again, like the best case scenario. So you want to add in probably 2 or 3 months at least to give yourself some time on that. It can be done faster, but that can be cutting corners and getting yourself in some tough situations. Prototyping strategy, I want to hit on this briefly because I think that prototyping is often not done with the right strategy. Often prototypes are kind of, the mentality is just, I'm going to make the next better prototype. But instead of doing that, you don't want to think about the features so much. You really want to think about your business, right? What is that prototype going to do for your business? And a good example, a friend of mine, Bob Christopher, he's the Director of Innovation at Panasonic, and he sold $23 million in robots, the first artificially intelligent robot like 12 years ago, kind of fake AI dinosaur. And he, well-connected guy, but a good business person, he made this nice prototype. He went to CES, he got a fancy room, he invited the media, he invited investors. He's going to do a big demo. The night before, the prototype exploded. He had nothing to show. Ran to the art store, put together a clay model of a dinosaur, and met with all of the investors and the media, and was like, okay, here's a dinosaur, and imagine if when you did this, it went, rawr, and you did that, and it rawr, and he raised $2 million, and he got a lot of press. That was his prototype. And that, so you want to think of what, are you raising money? Are you solving a UI, UX problem? Are you solving a manufacturing question? What is it about that prototype that is going to get you to the next level? And if you don't need it to get to that next level, don't do it, right? Save that time, save that money. Just do what you need to get to that next step. And here's some of the things that are some of the important things that prototyping can cover. IP, always a huge question in China, right, is how do you control your IP? Here's a bunch of tricks and a little bit of strategy. So if the factory is doing the design and you don't pay them, they legally own everything that they do. Right, so if you, and this is true, I know in US law, I don't know EU law too much, but I think it's pretty global, is that if you're not paying for something, you don't own it, right? So make sure if you're going to have them do design, that it's very clear that you own that design and you pay a deposit to get them started, but you don't pay them the final balance until they send you all the files, right? A lot of factories can do this very quickly and efficiently, and so they're happy to get going on some of the design. But if you don't have this agreement, you don't have the files, and now they have all of your most up-to-date manufacturing details and all of the control in the relationship, right? If you do piss them off, what control do you have? Have a mold contract in place that's written in Chinese and is executed in China. We've had instances where we can call the police. The police will come with us to the factory to pull the molds out of the factory. This is part of one of the services we offer. If you're not working with us, make sure your partner has that, or you make your own. Protect yourself in the countries that you will sell to. If you're going on Kickstarter, once you get public, it's very likely, if you have a good product, that somebody in China will copy it. If it's not your factory, it will be somebody else. And it's going to be very hard to protect that in China. So unless you're really going after the China market, don't worry about it. You've got a lot of other things to worry about. And so think about who's your market, who's your target, how do you protect yourself? Obviously, utility patents, trademarks. But there's a bigger picture as well that I'll get into here in a second. A neat little trick is trademarks in China are actually very well enforced now. So if you put your logo in the tool, then the factory is going to have to make a new tool to reproduce your product without your logo on it. And that tools cost a lot of money, between $10,000 and $200,000 maybe. And then when it goes for export, so the tools are these huge heavy things, put some tape on it, sign your name on the tape. Very hard for them to copy that exactly. If they break it, you see that it's broken, you can see that something went wrong there. So that's a really easy, quick thing you can do. Everyone's so concerned about the Chinese factories. We've actually never had a Chinese factory significantly rip off our idea and compete with our customer in their market. Out of all of these products that we've worked with, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One is that we work with a lot of Chinese factories that don't speak English, so their marketing ability is very minimal to outside markets. But the most important thing is that if a Chinese factory that probably is a factory, they're not a marketing department, can copy your idea and sell it better than you can in your target market, then you have a lot bigger competitors to worry about, right? Your Amazon and all the bigger players can do it much better than the Chinese factory. So don't worry so much about them. Think about how are you going to protect your IP as a general strategy, right? So strong brand, quick to market, channel partners, right price, right niche. All of those bigger strategy things are really important. Things to watch out for in general. Don't overestimate the factory's interest in your order, right? They're, especially in the beginning, they are losing money. It's not hard to say no to a losing deal in the beginning, right? So really appreciate all the effort that they put into it. They're going to put a lot of work. There's a huge step to go from a final working beautiful prototype in the lab to a beautiful mass-produced product with a low defect rate. And they're going to do most of that work for you. So appreciate what that is. Understand the economics behind that. Often how this happens, factories don't like to say no. They will say yes to everything. Can you do it? Yes. Can you do it? Yes. Right? Until you get into the details and, oh no, we can't, that tolerance, no, of course we can't do that. Crazy. So when you have to have all the details and don't just take yes at face value, really get into the process and understand, especially the critical components, what can and cannot be done. don't go for the lowest price in general. Usually the lowest price competitors are using the strategy of just get you in the door, get you hooked, so that later on it's very hard to switch production in midstream, right? You have customers, you have Kickstarter backers, and they know that, they know you can't change, and so they're likely giving you that price just so that they can raise it halfway through, and there are a million reasons to raise the price, and they will all make sense. The factory will have no problem coming up with, oh, this tool needs to be harder, this tolerance is too tight, the workers can't do it the way that I wanted them to do it. We have to double your price. Right? And so that if you're going with the lowest price factory, that's what you can expect. You know, you want to be a good partner to them also, right? You want to make sure they're making money. That's the way you're going to have a good long-term relationship. Again, think of them kind of like your investors, right? Because they are investing in your business, and if they're not interested and committed, then you're going to be stuck. You're going to have to start over. You can lose 6 months of time. You can lose $30,000, $50,000, and you know, have unhappy customers, lots of things. So really treat them with respect, but you know, trust and verify, right? Trust and verify. And to that point, make sure the product is good before it gets on the boat. Once it gets on the boat, you've lost 35 days probably overall in shipping and customs and all that. And you're going to be, besides the whole problem of having to most likely remanufacture the whole order from scratch, you'll have bigger problems of getting your product into customers' hands, because especially if you're ramping up and getting into Best Buy and bigger retailers, if you're late, you're done. And if you're done with one retailer, you're done with all the retailers. The other retailers will be looking at that and they will know what happened. So it's definitely worth it to either go yourself or use a trusted third party to go to the factory and check things before they get on the boat. So how do you get all the details together, right? This is basically what you need. So you need a bill of materials, which lists out each individual component. You know, if it's electronics, you know, down to every resistor, every detail. For the mechanical, just every component needs to be accounted for. That helps everybody keep track. It makes sure that the pricing has all been accounted for. And then the most important but unknown document, I think, in this whole process is a product requirements document. Does everyone know what that is, roughly? Roughly 2 people. So this is the key, really, in my mind, to manufacturing. So check it out. We're going to have some templates that you can use available soon on the site. But a product requirements document is basically a document that explains all of the details about the product that are important. And it can be kind of at a high level, like what the market expects it to do, right? It's going to be outside 250 days of the year, and we expect it to last for 10 years. Or kids are going to drop it regularly, or, you know, it can be kind of loose and high level like that. But it should also be more specific about, it should have an IP rating of 6.6, which tells you how watertight it should be, or how dirt, you know, how the dirt gets in there. So check out, it'll make a lot more sense. You know, when you Google this online, you can find them. But with this, this tells all of the details in a general sense of what the product needs to do, and anything that is important to your customers should absolutely be in this document. And this is going to be one of your main ways of communicating, not only to your factory, but to a lot of other partners. It can be usually 4 to 8 pages, and in a quick half-hour read or 20-minute read, you know, your partners, your investors, the factories can have a very clear idea of what your product really needs to be. And the factory can use this then and translate that into a lot of things that you weren't even thinking about, right? Tolerances and ways of manufacturing the product. Your marketing team and your finance team can figure out how to convert your manufacturing plan and match it with your marketing plan and your finances. So really important. The technical files are where you dig deeper. You know, this is the CAD files, the Gerber files. These are where you have all the real heart of what the project is going to be, the files that go into the tooling machine to create the tooling and so forth. Once you finish, as I mentioned, once you get out of the lab, I'd say we have improved 100% of our products. I can't think of an example that we didn't get the files and say, okay, we need to change this a little bit for cost reduction or for durability, or there's an undercut in the tool. So design for manufacturing is a real critical part of the process. Unless you have 20 years or 30 years experience doing it, it probably is not something you want to do yourself. Factories can do a lot of this, but it also might make sense to work with another partner that can take a look at it. Quality control. This is a funny one because you have to now take all of this information, you've done it once for the product, now you have to do it in a totally different way of how are you going to measure it and inspect it. So you have to translate all of those specifications into inspection guidelines and the tools that will be used to measure those. And then you have to figure out how they will be inspected. Who's going to inspect them? What's the sampling plan? How do you randomize it? Those sorts of things. So again, the factory or another partner can help you do that, but definitely something you want to be aware of. And gonna try to keep going fast. Is this fast enough for you guys? Okay. I'll just take a few more minutes, and I've got some case studies if you want to hear more. But wanted to touch on packaging. So packaging is often one of the most forgotten about parts of the process, and it can take a long time. And you'll want to start early. It can also cost a lot. I'd say most of the products that we work with, packaging ends up adding 10% to the cost of goods. So if you're pricing out your sales price, but you haven't factored in your packaging early, then you could bump yourself up into a price point that isn't sellable. All right, it's super important in consumer retail, definitely, as a part of the whole product and the experience. So, Apple is just took this to another level and defined the game, early on, and now everybody's caught on. But that's a way they were able to build their brand. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of details. So figure out what those are. A good way to do it is go, if you're not sure, go to the store, find a package that you like that's really similar. You can take that, you can send it to us. We can tell you what the paper weight is, what the UV spot printing is. We can tell you exactly how that's made, and we can help you redesign that to meet your form factor or what else, and other partners as well.